Hello, and welcome to this webinar, The Innovator's Toolkit, Methods and Instruments for More Creativity in Your Company. My name is Steve Hardman, and I'm from Verrocchio Publishers. This session will be moderated for us today by Joanne Hyland. Joanne is President and co-founder of the rInnovation Group, an Association Development Director on the ISPIM board. ISPIM is the International Society for Professional Innovation Management. Our other speakers today are Christian Buchholz and Benno van Aerssen, who are co-founders of the Verrocchio Institute for Innovation Competence. And they are also editors of the Innovator's Dictionary, which we're very pleased to have published. Before I hand over to Joanne, I'd like to say just a few words about De Gruyter. De Gruyter is based in Berlin and is one of the oldest independent publishers in Germany, with a history dating back more than 270 years. De Gruyter is a leading publisher of academic content, and we also publish books for business professionals. In total, we publish more than 1,300 new book titles each year, and we also publish journals and digital products. As I've mentioned, we are very pleased to publish Christian and Benno's book, and if you'd like to buy a copy, you can do so from your local bookseller. So that is the end of the commercial, and I'll now hand over to Joanne.
Thanks, Steve, and welcome everyone to today's webinar. As Steve said, I'm going to be moderating today and be passing it over to Christian and Benno in a few minutes. Just want to explain how we're going to be doing this. We had a planning call, and we decided that it would be a good idea to take your questions as they come in. If you could put them into the chat box, that would be appreciated. I will do my best to monitor them. And the ones that I think are relevant at the time, we'll raise them. I'll raise my hand, and Christian and Benno will take the answer to the question. Those that we do not get to, we also have time afterwards for plenty of opportunity to interact. So we will also keep track of those. So without any further ado, I would like to pass it over to Christian and Benno to start to give you an overview of why they did what they did, what the book is all about, and look forward to future dialogue. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Joanne, and thank you, Steve, for inviting us for this webinar. I really appreciate to be able to talk about our book and also about the background and the process, how we started doing it. My name is Christian Buchholz. I'm one of the founders of the Verrocchio Institute, working as an innovation coach and also a speaker about innovation for nearly 15 years now. So I have a lot of experience with clients from actual innovation projects, and we put this knowledge into the book. And I'm here not alone, but with my colleague and friend Benno van Aerssen.
Yeah, also from my side, really thank you for having us here in that webinar. So we really appreciate to be here, and it is more or less the same story. So same to me. I'm also working for now around 13 years at innovation coach, innovation consultants for customers all over the globe. And it is this book, The Innovator's Dictionary, is really a project that comes from our heart. That is really a milestone in our company history. And yeah, so looking forward to the next minutes and to the chat and everything. Thank you.
Yes, as I'm pretty sure that not everybody is familiar with the story of the book and what the book is. Maybe some people already have the book at home or at their desk right now, but some people not. So I would like to introduce some facts and insights about how we developed the book and what was the focus on and the idea behind. So let's have a look at the book itself. It's nearly 1,100, I think it's 1,100 pages, and includes 555 innovation methods and tools. And I would like to share some insights from our journey, what we learned by collecting all these innovation methods. And one question that we heard the most in the last years is why in the world have you done that? Why have you taken up this project and started collecting this? What is the reason behind? So I would just say, is there a message in the chat? Oh yeah, please put, yeah, Joanne, you said that, please put any questions in the chat. We will answer that afterwards. Before I start into the journey, why, how we did that, the question why I think is important to answer. So the Verrocchio Institute, someone may have asked that already, was founded after the name Andrea del Verrocchio. And if you're not familiar with arts, then you maybe don't know that Andrea del Verrocchio was the teacher of Leonardo da Vinci. And we choose that name because our mission at the Verrocchio Institute is really to collect, find, enrich innovation knowledge and spread it into the world, and to find and develop the innovators of today. And that's the reason why we choose that name. And following this history of Andrea del Verrocchio as a name giver of our institute, we not only have our office in Düsseldorf, which is a home base. We're working internationally with many clients, but also in Florence. So some time in the year we spend in Florence, in this beautiful city, to follow the steps of Da Vinci and Verrocchio and see how innovation emerges over the ages, over history. One core product or one core format that we use to develop innovators or to teach innovators is our Innovation Coach program, which runs now for, I would say, nearly 10 years. So this is a program where we work with innovators from many different companies. And so every year we meet there with more than 100 new people new into innovation, and we try to give them not only a basic understanding of innovation, but also the tools and the methods that they need to become an innovator in their organization. So one thing that we try to do is to answer every question, every challenge they have on their path to become an innovator, not only during the workshops that we provide, but also afterwards. So what we do is that we collect a lot of questions and challenges. And one of the most common questions that we get during the last 10 years was the question, which innovation tool should I use in that specific situation? So nearly every week we get a message or a call from some of our clients, from some of the people who attended our workshops, and with a specific challenge. And it's always an individual challenge, but mostly this challenge can be answered with a specific tool that we recommend to use in that situation. And so one day, and I remember that day, maybe Benno will say something afterwards too about this. I remember that moment. We were actually in Florence at that time. We thought, what about creating a collection of all available innovation tools in the world to answer all these questions that we get from our clients? And that was an idea that we had a couple of years ago in Florence, and the reason that is the reason why we called it the Florence Innovation Project, because that was the start. And that was a good idea at the beginning, but once we started collecting all these tools, we realized that's a huge amount of work. So in total, it was truly a project of 3 years collecting methods. And we quickly decided not to do that all alone. So we are not the only authors. We are the publishers of the book, the editors, but we are not the only authors. We have 10 more people exactly, contributing to the book to make it that big and to make it in that way that was possible at the end. So how did we do that? The first step was always that we collected methods. So I think we nearly bought every book about innovation tools and methods that came onto the market in the last years, and searched for new methods. Then we interviewed, of course, our colleagues.
Just something to add, little number.
Okay.
So we had around 600 books that built the base, the fundament of source for all the methods and tools. So 10 people bought and read around 600 books. So that's the amount of books that build the fundament of this collection.
Yeah. So it's some kind, if you have a university perspective, it's some kind of a meta study of innovation tools and methods that people use all around the world. And of course, we talked to a lot of innovation experts, We are members of the ISPIM organization, and had a lot of chats doing all the events and meetings about what are the tools that they use and so on. So at the end, we came up with, I think, more than 600 tools in total. And we try to dense it down, bring it down to more tangible number, which was 555 at the end. 555 unique methods that people use all over the world to fulfill their innovation needs. Of course, what we did afterwards, we just, as we are people who come from practical work, from innovation work within organizations, from projects, we wanted to know, are these methods that are just theoretical, or are they working really good in the practical projects, and what is the effect of that method? So we tested that. We took a time of nearly 3 years to really put that methods together with the other authors on the test in our workshops, and we try to figure out for which cases, for which situations and challenges is that method the right one. And afterwards, we tried to structure it, because we realized just having a book with a large list of 500 innovation methods would not be nice to read, would not be good, would not be useful for people, because they have to read everything to get all the methods. So we try to find a structure, something what helps people to find the right method for their actual challenge. That was our idea, and I will talk a bit later about the structure of the book. So let me share some basic insights, besides the structure, some basic insights that we gathered from this project. One insight is, of course, which was surprising for us, that there are more than 500 unique methods to apply. So there are a lot of methods out there in the world. And also, we also had never thought that before, that there are so much different methods that people use. And of course, not every method is good for every type of challenge, but there are different methods that you can apply, and not only one method. Most people in innovation processes and also innovation professionals that we talk to know less than 5 different methods. So one thing that I often do in speeches and also in workshops is that I ask participants, how many methods do you know? And then I collect the answers, and regularly there are not more than 5 different methods that they know. And regarding the situations that many companies are talking about innovation, even putting that at a subtitle on their brochures and on their websites, and seeing that they don't have so much knowledge about methods and tools, that's a huge discrepancy that we realized, and a huge insight that we had during these projects. Having in mind that they know less than 5 different methods, if I ask them how many they use frequently, then I get back that most of the people that we talk to use less than 3 methods. So everybody has his favorite ones. Many people use brainstorming, for example, as a really traditional method and apply it to nearly every ideation phase they have. But usually people don't use more than 3 methods. So they have not a huge choice of different methods. They don't have a large tool set. And what's also quite interesting, that at that time, you want to add something?
Yeah, because at that point that the people only know in this around 5 methods, and they use not more than 3. That creates a lot of friction in innovation projects. So what really happens is that we learn the people, they fell in love with their tools. Yeah. So if there's one experience, the tool just works, they use it every time for every challenge. So there is that you know probably that old idiom, when you only have a hammer, all problems look like problems that you can solve with a hammer. Yeah. Every problem looks like a nail. And that's a big trap. The companies could really create more innovation success if the people in the company are curious on methods and not fall in love with only 3 or 4 or 5 methods. So that has a huge impact on the likelihood for innovation successes.
Yeah. And if you look on other crafts or other professions, in every profession, people use a couple of tools. They don't have just a hammer or just 3 tools that they use. I think that should also be something that should be used more in the innovation context, that you just have a broad tool set of different tools that you apply to a certain situation, to a certain challenge. It doesn't have to be 555. But
Christian and Benno, may I jump in for a second? Yes,
yeah.
Sorry. We had a question that came in at the very beginning, and I think this is probably a good time to ask
Perfect.
it. I just wanted to let you have a chance to get going. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, but it's from Rajay. And the question is, what can influence a certain innovative method to work more than another method?
Yeah, so there, as we tested the method and did research and looked to our own experience, so there are a lot of things that create an impact on how the method works and if it works better than the other. So roughly we can say there are components of methods that connect to the mindset of the people. So there are methods that only work well if the mindset of the people has a good relation to the method. Yeah. So then we have a very hard fact. So there are methods that are really built up and designed for working with small teams, 2, 3, 4 people. And we have other methods that are developed to work with a huge group of whatever, 40, 50 or more people. Yeah. We have methods that work for smaller settings in small rooms. Other methods, you need a big room to do them. Yeah. And in total, we have more than 300 of this little characteristics that we categorized and so on. So in our book, we have very specific answers. What is the ideal setup for a specific method? Yeah, and when you look at this data, you can really, with the book, it really tells you, yeah, if you have your setting, your challenge clear, you can really easily see that method will fit better than the other, so it will better perform and it will outperform the other method because of. And what you try to do is to find methods that connect to the most of your setup or challenge characteristics, yeah, and parts of that. So the book gives really a clear answer, and it is every time a specific answer. So what are the people? What is the day? How many people? What is the challenge, technical or whatever? What is the setting? What about the room? What about the tools? Yeah, and what is the input that I have for that method? And what does the method create as output? And everything is really clear, described on every method in the book. Yeah.
And thank you, Benno. And just maybe a follow-on to this, we're getting some questions in about language and understanding maybe of terms. There's a question from Ula, who he's asking, do you distinguish between tool and method? And also on the cover of your book, you have instruments. So yeah, maybe you could speak to those 3 terms and what do you mean in your context, please? Yeah.
So there is not really a big difference, or you can say there's a smooth range. And so, and in different cultures, in different languages, people sometimes say method and sometimes say tool. Yeah, but what really is the case is that we have different method or tool types. So we call them in the book the micro methods, that are methods that's smaller ones. And we have a word that is a macro method, that is typically a method with different working packages. Yeah, and micro methods are used in working packages of macro methods. So that is a really relevant and helpful categorization, micro and macro method. Sometimes the people say method and sometimes tool. Yeah. And when you look at this huge variety of different instruments in that book, you can discover a lot of more types. We have tools or methods that are based on paper. We have tools and methods that don't need any paper. The method could be a role play. Yeah, with a few people, you make a little piece of theater or whatever. Yeah, so it is sometimes tool, sometimes method. It's not every time that a tool is in the sense of a piece of software or something, or a piece of hardware. Yeah, It is a very fluent definition of these two words, but a little bit more relevant is the let's say the size. If it's a macro method or a micro method.
Yeah, I think it's something that you use on purpose to overcome a specific challenge in a situation, and something that you use that you can use as a standard for these situations. That is something that we called a tool or method in this context.
Okay, and just maybe just to build upon that and ask, we had a question here about if it's only a product, it's only an improvement of a previous product, does one need to use an innovation method?
Yeah, so we have different types of innovations. So we have a scale that's, let's say, starts on the left side where we call it incremental innovation, in brackets, improvements. And then we have in the middle, whatever, that radical types of innovation, and on the right side, that disruptive types of innovation. Yeah. And there are methods in the book that really focus a certain type. So you can read that in the method. So it focuses incremental ideation or incremental projects or others that help to create a disruptive innovation. And sometimes it depends on the input that you gave to the method. And the method can help you on incremental, either on disruptive innovation challenges. Yeah. So that there's a huge variety. Where we have methods that really stick to one type, and we have methods that can work for more than one. And the book gives a clear answer on every method, how this really is in that specific one.
Good. Okay, and we're thank you, everyone. The chat is very busy. There's lots happening. I'm trying my best to pick out a few things, but I think what we'll do right now is pass it back to Christian to continue with the presentation. And there's a few common themes that are emerging as well. We'll come back to. So thank you.
We will have some time to answer that, of course. So I stopped with the insights that we gathered from working in this project to find all these methods. And one insight that I haven't mentioned before is that we realized that 87% of the methods that we've found people use as a paper-based method. Of course, that was before COVID times. So that was at times when we developed that book. We had that project when people met in workshop rooms and met in person. So that changed due to that Corona case that people have to work online, more digital. But at that time, most of the methods that people use were paper-based. And that was an amazing insight because on one hand, most of the outcome of innovation processes is something digital. So I think there's not even one innovation project today which has not a digital component, a digital result, an app or something as a software solution. But how people get to that solution on their way, on their journey, they use paper-based methods. And that connects quite good with our history because Leonardo da Vinci said once that he gets the best thoughts when he uses his hands. And that is something that we also realized in our workshops, that people get better ideas when they use their hands, when they write something down, when they write on paper. And we thought that that could be the reason for that insight here, which is something like a number that we found. So these are, I would say, basic. Yeah.
One additional thing at this point is that thanks to God, a lot of companies have developed a lot of really cool collaboration tools like Miro, Mural, Concept Board. You know, all these tools where you can meet in virtual rooms and create stuff together. And the most of nearly every paper-based method is easily transferred to that virtual working places. And we learn also in COVID times that creating something together visually is the same in digital times. So it only switches from the normal tables and desks in an analog workshop room to this virtual collaboration board. So all this method work perfectly in these virtual tools.
Yeah. That's about the insights that we had from collecting the methods. Let's have a look at the search path, which is a core feature of the book, because having a look, and I will just share you the size of the book with you. I think it could be seen best when you have it in your hands. It's really, really heavy. So having a book like this size without having a proper structure that helps you find the right methods would be a mess, because people would they need to read through all these pages. That would not work. So we thought, how can we help people to find in a short way, in a short time, their best methods, the methods that they could use for their specific challenge. So what we implemented in that book were some search paths. So this is a screenshot from the inside of the book. These are the 10 search paths that we used as a structure. So we try to sort these methods to according to different search paths. For example, we use design thinking phases as one search word. So you can have you can start with a design thinking phase and look at which methods work in these contexts the best, or a tool cluster, or we sorted methods after input and output. So what do you put into a method and what comes out? So what type of ideas, for example, will you get out? And input is also something like material. So you could search for methods that help you when you only have a piece of paper and a pen, for example. And these things are some search criteria that we put into the book. And I would like to share, I think, two of the, for us, most important search criteria that we use the most in our project. And one search criteria, one search path, oh, there's a spelling mistake. One search path is the impact on innovation obstacles. So one thing that we realized is that people often in their projects have a situation where they cannot move forward, where they need to stop because they have a certain obstacle, a certain situation where they say, I don't know what I should do right now. I'm not able to move forward with the process. So we tried to collect, and I think at the end we had more than 40 different obstacles. We tried to collect which are the most common obstacles that the people we work with have in their project. So for example, usually people have something like blind actionism. They are just trying to do anything without having a clear photos. Or people say, we always have generic ideas in our ideation workshops. Or someone says, I have a problem with that team because we have so many introverted team members. Or we have people who use annoying killer phrases, and so on and so on. So we put all these specific challenges together and thought about which method helps you in that situation overcome those obstacles. So that at the end, you can choose a method by that obstacle. And when you have something like a workshop to plan that starts maybe tomorrow, and to say, oh, I know about something and about these team members. For example, I have one person there who is as a character of a disturbing group clown. So someone who is always making funny jokes and is not taking the situation seriously. Then this book helps you in that situation to choose a method which really overcomes this obstacle, which help you in that situation to really get to a result. For example, that would, of course, be a method where you more a writing method where you write down ideas or write down things instead of something where you give these persons a chance to talk or to produce themselves. So this is one search path that is really important for us and also for the people we work with.
Special addition here is, and if you realize that in the book we have around 300 methods that focus on ideation and creativity. So we have a lot of methods that help you to create ideas, basic ideas, enriched ideas, different types of ideas. And sometimes the best way to find a helping method is to look at this innovation obstacle and the obstacle effects that you know from your team that are typically there, and to look from this side on the methods. And a lot of people told that that was a totally different way to look on the methods, yeah, to look from the side of that obstacles or friction effects or how you name them, yeah, and that helps a lot, yeah. And especially if you focus on that creativity technique, it's totally clear. You have hundreds of creativity techniques, wonderful techniques, but sometimes the best technique is that helps the team to overcome a specific obstacle that they have in their team, yeah.
We have a question,
yeah.
Benno, maybe we could, because just to build on that, we have a question about, can you maybe give an example and at least like name one of the methods or a couple of the methods that would be relevant, for example, creativity, so that we can ground it a little bit more.
Yes, we can give an example. There's one technique in the book that's called the brain riding pool. The brain riding pool is sitting people around a table. Could be 4 people, 10, 15 people sitting around the table. And everybody has a little stack of post-it notes. Yeah, and there's a given challenge, and everybody writes his first basic idea on a little sticky note and gives this to the left neighbor. Creates another one, gives it to the left neighbor. And as this left neighbor, I receive sticky notes and I can enrich them and then move them, second them to my left neighbor. So the sticky notes start circling around the table. Yeah. And that is a brain riding based method. And this method helps teams that have a huge amount of more introverted people. So we find that very often in companies with a traditional, more conservative company culture with a lot of engineers or a little bit experienced engineers, a little bit older, then brain riding helps. And it prevents that they start endless discussion while ideation. So that is really a big friction that you can create. So while the people writing, they are not talking. They write and they give the sticky notes. And at the end, we have side effects that everybody has written that this circling sticky notes there, and everybody is aware of every sticky note. And they concentrate on ideation and they let them inspire by sticky notes from the neighbors, yeah. And it prevents and not to create endless discussions while ideation, and everybody has the same, let's say, time to think. It's not disturbed by discussions or by extroverted people. So that is one example. Another example could be it's 2 names. It's the mental headstand or the reverse brainstorming. So that helps people. They say, I'm not able, I have no idea. It's like sitting in front of a blank page and I have no idea, nothing in my head. It's coming out as an idea. And the mental headstand technique is, okay, when you have a blockade there, you have a creative blockage there, a blockade there, turn your challenge into the opposite. So if your challenge is, make an example, we want to create a new concept for whatever, a stand or booth on a fair that should be successful. Then the headstand technique is how can we create a stand or booth on a fair that really helps to annoy everybody that visit us? Yeah. How should it be? Oh, it should smell horrible. Yeah. We create a fence around this booth or stand that nobody can enter the booth. Yeah. And so on. And to see it from the negative side, that helps to create negative ideas, and you can use easily the negative ideas to turn them backwards into the opposite and say, hey, if the booth is smelling bad, no one will enter the booth, but the opposite is a good smell, something that creates a wonderful smell of whatever the spring, and the people are attracted by that wonderful smell, and then they visit our stand there on the fair. Yeah. Just 2 examples, the brain riding pool and the reverse brainstorming or mental headstand, and they help to really help to really vanish these obstacles and delete them, and they make them smaller. That is what they do.
So we're getting some thanks for providing those examples. Thank you, Benno. And also some of the creative naming of these tools. And I know I've been through the book and there's a lot of other very creative names, but let's pass it back over to Christian to continue with the presentation, and we'll keep monitoring the chat. Thank you.
Thank you. I think a good thing about these innovation obstacles is also that it helps you name the obstacle or name the challenge, because quite often people are stuck in the situation, say, oh, this is not working, this innovation project. Or we have always these people who don't like what we do in the company, in the organization. And by identifying the innovation obstacle which lies behind, it helps you to overcome it in the next step. So you can, you can try to specify more what's the problem behind, and then solve that problem by using another method and having another solution to try. Beneath the innovation obstacles, there's one thing that is quite important for us in our work, which is the benefit for teams in specific situations, because sometimes the circumstances of a team, the overall challenges of the situation in the company is something that is hindering an innovation success. So for example, there's a difference in the choice of the method if the team is in a crisis situation or the company is in a crisis situation. So you have to innovate with a certain urgency, or the organization is in a comfortable situation. There's a complete different approach on innovating in constructing such a workshop. Or you have teams with experience in innovation, people who have used a lot of tools already, people who maybe have a design thinking background. So you choose another type of methods then when with a team who has no experience. Also in your experience as a team leader or as a moderator or facilitator, that's also dependent on which method is the best one to choose. And that is also something that we address in the book. And as I said before, there are 10 search paths. So these are just 2 of them, but these search paths help you to find the method. And what we did is that we put in the number of the method right behind that search path, so you can easily figure out which method that one is the one that works here, and then jump to that page, read through the method and say, okay, I will try that one, that looks good, I will try that with my team. Or you say, no, I will look for another one. And usually there are more than 2 which apply to that specific search path.
To just show you, every method has a specific number in the book. So on the edge of the pages, and so from the starting point of the search paths, you can really quickly find that and identify that method. So not only the name, there's just an index number that additionally helps to find it very quickly.
Yeah, so this is something about the insights of the book. If you, as Steve mentioned before, if you want to read more about it and see more from the insights, just have a look at our page that we developed for that book, and you find more information about what's inside and where you can get it. But now we are open to more questions from you, and I'm pretty sure that Joanne have picked up some already.
Yeah, there are many, so I'm doing my best to monitor them. So maybe we can work backwards right now. We just had one come in and ask, you've talked a lot about more the project and the team level. Do you also have methods related to the portfolio?
Yeah, there are methods that help to work on portfolios. Yeah, there are a few in the book. Nearly all the different aspects of innovation work are addressed. So we have methods that are focused on trend and future work, so that impacts portfolio work. Yeah, yes, there are a lot of methods in there that are in the scope of portfolio work. Even it's a project portfolio that you work on, that you want to create, or trend portfolio, or technology portfolio, or roadmap. Yeah, and so we have, let's say, all the different flight levels in the book. So it starts from very small methods in the sense of ideation, yeah, to methods that you use on the more strategic working packages in innovation, like working packages around portfolio or roadmap work or innovation strategy work. Yeah.
Right. Okay, and we had another question. This is actually a repeat of what came in before. It was really about, what would constitute core knowledge or reasonable core knowledge if you're working as a manager in an SME, so a small or medium-sized enterprise.
Yeah, so but what we can, so back to what Christian mentioned, is that our observation is basically that the innovation knowledge in the most companies is too small. That is the basic thing. So we help a lot of companies by just recommend books and other sources. Okay, the first thing is read, learn. Yeah, the know-how level is too small. The first one. The second level is that, yeah, you don't need to know all the 555 methods. What we know is that if managers or innovation managers or innovation coaches in companies, if they know around, let's say, 30 to 50 methods, that makes a huge difference to that level, what they normally have with whatever 5 or 6 or 7 methods, something. Yeah. And that they have sources like the book that in every new challenge, they say, okay, I knew whatever 30, but probably there's one from me unknown in the book that is the best at this situation. And then I know the sources, I can deal with sources, I can walk through sources and immediately identify the right one. So it's not the thing of to make them, to put them in your brain that every method is known from your heart. No, you have to know how to use the source that you can quickly identify the method. And one secret is the most methods from their method mechanics are not a rocket science. So the challenge is not to learn one method, it is to find the right method. That is the challenge. So have a big source of methods, identify the right one, because learning and using the method, that is not rocket science. The most methods are not rocket science. So identifying to have a big source and to handle this big source, that is cool. And to the question, yeah, if we can say if people know 30 to 50 methods, that creates an impact in the most companies.
So looking, I think everyone's trying to make it relevant for them. So maybe a question more around the techniques and methods. We have a question here about at the system level and using examples of government, society level, COVID response, test and track and tracing, etc. So would there be methods that would be relevant in that kind of environment? And also there was a question that came in earlier about by application, like industries and sectors and so forth. So maybe we could look at sort of maybe some of the more broader application of the methods. So comments on that?
Yeah, so we have, the basic comment is that there are methods in the book that you can use in nearly every company and organization and nearly in every challenge, like the brainwriting pool I mentioned. So the brainwriting pool has two basic benefits. You can understand it in a second, and it works for unexperienced people and teams, and it is compatible to nearly every challenge that is in front of you, whatever you want to create ideas on. But there are other methods like TRIZ. There was a question on TRIZ. Yes, TRIZ is in the book. And TRIZ is the method, or it's a method, and it's also a little toolbox in itself. And it's focused totally technical challenges. So if there's an engineer that has an issue with a gearbox of a car and says, hey, why is that damn wheel number 5 getting so hot so quick? And what about the friction in my gearbox there? Totally technical, small issue. To solve that, to create an idea on that, to solve that, then TRIZ is a highly recommended method. And TRIZ only works the best for the mechanical, physical problems. Yeah, so there is both. So, and then the book tells you on every method. So what about the application? Can you use it in a lot of application or just only in 1 or 2 or 3 specific?
Yeah, and part of that question about TRIZ was there were other examples of Scamper and Sit and Use It and all that. Are they on the list?
They're all in, yeah. So Scamper is in, yeah. TRIZ is in, SIT is in, yeah.
Okay, and there was maybe just changing tracks a little bit. There was a question a while back about how to prevent actionism. And I noticed that Felicia was the one who asked it, and she also has her hand raised. I want to make sure that we bring the question forward so that the two of you can address it.
So this, so you focus on that blind actionism, huh? That was right. Did I understand?
Yeah, how to prevent it.
Yeah, how to prevent it. So the one thing that you have to understand is that if you say, okay, I want to create an idea that is something that I have to create a flow and to be creative and no limits and whatever, yeah, and but also creativity gets more efficient if you use it within a structure, yeah, and the answer is a structure to prevent blind actionism, endless creativity, or ideas that not work for your target or whatever else. It is every time putting a structure to your working situation, yeah, and a structure can never destroy creativity. There are people that believe, okay, when I use creativity within a structure, I set limits. You are not able to limit your brain. It is the other way around. If you set limits, your brain will get more creative. So structures help. One answer is to use structures. And there are methods in the book that just provide a structure. So yeah, and also the thing of the very old, one of my favorites, the Six Thinking Hats of Edward de Bono. It's a really old one and one of the best ever that he invented in the mid 60s. So really old one. The six thinking hats, the six perspectives, they provide a structure. And that is one specific recommendation. So if you have people that are lost in this blind activism, if it's a discussion or an ideation or a judgment situation or whatever, use the six thinking hats and it gives you a structure. Yeah. There are methods that give you a structure, and that is the basic, the generic answer how to prevent that blind activism.
Okay, great, thank you. Now maybe over to you, Christian. We've had some questions here about maybe a little bit around the business model for all of this. People are asking about, are these techniques free? Do they require licenses to be able to use them? They've referenced Lego Serious Play and so forth. So maybe you could elaborate a little bit more about that?
Yeah, of course. So as this book is creating an overview over methods, you are able from each method to use that, to understand the method. But of course, for some methods, you need to use some other tools also. So what we focused on is to try and put method into the books where there's no huge barrier afterwards to use it. So we avoid methods that need to create license fees of hundreds of dollars afterwards. That are methods that we don't put into the book. But of course, there are some methods where you need some additional materials afterwards. For example, and that is something that I read also in the chat, Lego Serious Play is a method that we had in the book. And of course, you need Lego bricks to use that method. So you need to buy these materials afterwards, but it's something that is within a huge which amount of cost that should be applicable for that project. But there's not a method inside where you need to add additional costs, huge additional costs afterwards. Most of the methods, you only use a paper and a pen and a team, and then you can start doing it.
So now, thank you, Christian. Now going to another question, which I also had on my list as moderator, because you always have a few in case you don't get questions, but we're getting plenty. I'm having trouble keeping up. Is how do you handle, or how does the book and all of the various methods deal with the different levels of uncertainty? So that one came in. What did you do to attend to that?
So uncertainty is okay. That is one let's say part of our world nowadays. That's clear, and we have the ambiguous working situations and challenges, whatever. So the world is volatile and it's uncertain and complex. So that's the point. And to deal with uncertainty, it first connects to mindset. Yeah. So you are in a situation and it's an uncertain situation. You're not sure what is the right way or whatever, or what idea to choose, or all this, the things. The first thing is mindset. And there are methods in the book that help you to realize what is the mindset that helps, how to think, how to behave, yeah, to see uncertainty not as an enemy or something that creates an obstacle for me, to see it as also that creates an opportunity, yeah. And there's one method in the book, and that is really the yeah, that's the favorite. So it is before all the methods in the book. That is the story of the king and the shoemaker, yeah. And the king and the shoemaker, it's a fairy tale, and this little fairy tale tells you how the mindset should be, yeah, to become really an innovator. And part of this fairy tale is how you deal with uncertain situations. And at the end, it is clear that the more uncertain the situation gets, and the more challenging it gets, the more creative is your brain, and you can trust on that. Yeah. And if you're a manager in a company and you want to develop your people to more creativity, to more radical ideas, make the challenge more challenging and a little bit more uncertain. And then the brain is more creative. And I think, Christian, you can also say from your perspective, you did a lot of studies on how the brain works.
Yeah, of course. If you're in a challenging situation, it's easier to be creative. Yeah. But of course, uncertain situations can prevent you from doing the right actions, for example, to see the whole challenge. And there are some methods in it who help you to take the next step, to focus on one thing, to ask the right question, to bring some insight into your situation and follow the right steps.
One specific recommendation is a method that is based on that. What English people sometimes say, that it's a very cool sentence. Okay, there's always a problem behind the problem. So you're facing a problem, yeah, and there's uncertainty in it, yeah. Try to dig deeper into it, yeah, and try to discover the problem behind the problem, and probably that real problem behind it, that has not that uncertain characteristic that the first view on the first problem level is. Yeah, to step deeper in can also really specifically help to overcome the uncertainty, but it is to trust yourself that yes, in every problem there's a problem behind, there's a deeper problem in it. Yeah, and we have also that 5 why method that we know from the Kaizen approach that the Japanese people have. Yeah, so if something is not working and there's a problem, ask 5 times deeper. Why is it? Okay, I find that's answer. Well, why is that? Because of. And why is that? Because of. And you deeper to go, that normally the uncertainty really decreases.
And you know, as we discussed on our planning call, I think everybody has a different perspective on uncertainty, and it's like a whole topic of how you're going to define it. But I think that the key principles are you need methods to be able to identify uncertainty and then to reduce it in small steps. And so I think, you know, that's probably some of the things that people are looking for. Now, Christian, I want to kind of go back to you because we also had this conversation and it came in as a question. Are there improvements from the first German edition to the second English edition? And I know, you know, we did discuss it, so maybe you could explain a little bit about what happened in the journey from going from German to English and maybe some of the learning or the insights that you captured along the way.
Yeah, so to be precisely, there's no difference in the number of the methods and also in the content. So it's exactly the same like in the German version. It's a translation of the German version. But of course, what we realized on the way is that when you transfer that topic into another language, it's not just done by using, for example, something like Google Translate and then put it like it is. So you have to have another sense for how people, for example, define challenges, how they define obstacles. So you have to put that into mind, and that's what was a huge learning for us too, which we already had from our international projects, that we but we know that we have to approach different countries, different cultures in a different way, address things in a different way. But that was something that was making it much more clearer for us transferring that book from our mother language into the English language. But coming back to the methods, so the content is the same.
We have, it's actually a rather long one, but I think an important one that came in, a question from Alberto. And he wants to draw upon your deep understanding of these methods and what do you think are the core psychological or social mechanisms that help to elicit innovative ideas within an organizational context?
Yeah, I would say the same that you have in every situation where you work together with people in a group or an organization. There's no difference in innovation workshops than in any other situations. So the base is always the same. It could be, and I think Benno can add something on this. It could be that innovation situations are more challenging. And it's always that you need to use your own personality more in these situations, because creativity, for example, is something that comes in the deep connection with your own character and with your personality. And that's maybe a specific point of innovation workshops. Yeah. But overall, they are the same psychological differences in social impacts that we have in regular group situations, that we have also in change situations, for example, that organization faces.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, Benno, I'm going to have to unfortunately cut you off because in the interest of time, what I would like is for each of you to take 30 seconds or less, so very precise on the time, and leave everybody with one key message that you would like them to think about going forward in terms of the value of the book, what they should be thinking about, so forth. So maybe, Benno, 30 seconds.
30 seconds. 3 things I want you to provide and to focus you on. First is focus on mindset and in particular curiosity. That helps. Be curious on methods, curious on innovation, whatever. Second, focus on tools. It's about lifelong learning, like Da Vinci did it. Number 3, take your time to understand the problem, because there's always a problem behind the problem. So that are my 3 key recommendations.
Thank you, Benno. And Christian.
Yeah, I have one message. We have a book, we've written a book about 555 methods. It's not the target to learn all 555, but the target is to expand your own methodology, your own method knowledge. And what I can recommend is to make the methods your own. Don't just take it and do it in the same way that is proposed in the book. Try to adopt it and try to create your own variation of the method who fits to your personality and to the group you're working with. And that's the most efficient way to use these tools.
Okay, so thank you both very much. It's time for me to pass it over to Steve to wrap things up. And I want to thank everyone in the audience. I did not get a chance to get to everything. But Steve, there is a question about what will be actually posted from potentially a social media perspective with respect to the session and also with respect to the chat. So I'll pass that over to you to perhaps you can also address. And once again, thanks to everyone for such wonderful participation.
Thank you, Joanne. I'd like to thank Christian and Benno and also their colleagues who helped behind the project. They did so much work to put the book together, so thank you very much indeed. Particular thanks to Joanne for moderating today. I think you did a wonderful job with so many questions. With regard to the social media side, we're capturing a recording of this video, so the webinar, so that will be available afterwards, and we can notify all the participants. And I'd also like to thank everybody for all of the questions they've asked. It's so many, so we will try and capture those the best we can. So thank you all for joining. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Everybody welcome.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks to the team. Bye-bye.